All right, next technique is a release essentially for the pelvic floor, maybe for the glutes. And while that may sound invasive, it's actually a super simple release. So all we're gonna do, we're using breathing and that same contract relax that we talked about. You're going all fours, relatively wide with the knees. So about here, double hip width, hands go down, and you're in that all fours position. From here, we're getting a good flat back position, so making sure you're not too extended or too rounded. And then you're going to, with an inhale, slowly start to sit back and only go as far as you can maintain good position. So what'll happen is when you get to a certain sticking point, if your pelvic floor is tight or if your glutes are tight, you'll start to tuck under through the hips and we'll get this rounding through the back, and we don't want that. So we want to stop before we get to that. So as soon as you start to feel that tuck under, or if you look in the mirror or get somebody else to watch for you, that's where you're going to stop. So if you hit that tuck under point or right before it, you're going to stop there and you're going to do that same pelvic floor contraction. You can imagine pulling your two hip bones or your sits bones together and pulling forward and getting that lower core activation. So your inhale, sink down, exhale, contract. And creating that contraction in your pelvis. So you should notice as you go that it gets easier and easier. With the pelvis, you can imagine it like this bowl, and as you go to sit down, those hip bones have to pull apart to get down to the bottom. If the pelvic floor is stuck, so those muscles across there are stuck, you're not going to be able to get that separation as you sit back, and as a result, the only way to get down there for your body is to tilt, and that's why the tilt happens with tight pelvic floor muscles. So I've had people where they start their squat and they're super shaky and they can barely get past like 45 degrees down, and they add this and 3 reps of this, and all of a sudden they're squatting all the way to the ground because that one muscle was tight. And when that muscle is tight, your core doesn't function properly and you end up with one, back pain, but also not proper breathing patterns. So this is a whole other side benefit of this. You're also going to get a big improvement in back pain symptoms and core strength if you're somebody that deals with a lot of that stuff. So nice little bonus there as well. So that kneeling rock back one more time. In that nice wide position, shoulders are back, chest is up, head is neutral, and you're inhaling, sinking back, exhale, forward, until you get to the point where you're all the way down. Now, last thing I should mention, if you feel tightness in the groin when you go to sit back, that's another issue. That's something that we need to do a joint distraction for. So if that's an issue, I'm not going to include it in this specific program, but if you do notice that, you can email me. My email is derek@derekcolvin.com. You can also find an email through the website. Send an email to us or find us on Instagram, send a message, and I'll give you a video that demos that joint distraction for the hip.